People who failed at launching a business or startup. What did you do wrong? Not me, but a friend. He was a legendary home brewer in my area and decided to start his own commercial brewery after he retired. Apparently commercial brewing is a totally different animal than home brewing, and his recipes that were amazing in 5-10 gallon batches now tasted like crap when they are brewed on a larger scale. He doesn't know the business very well either, so he's failing to get the right connections and contracts to get his beer out there. He's not out of business just yet, but he's privately confided to me that he can only keep the doors open for another month or two. It's a shame because he put a good chunk of his nest egg into the business. Then he should work in the microbrew business. Small batches, more variety. Don't do what everyone else is doing. Microbrews are by far some of the best on the market in terms of variety and taste. Why doesn't he just stay local? Not everyone needs to be a million gallons a year kind of brewery. I didn't have enough money to operate the first year at a loss. Seriously, it is so important to have that. I mean, technically my business could have survived, but I'd have starved. When factoring in year 1 projections, don't forget your salary. Entered an oversaturated market with zero business, marketing or sales experience. In hindsight, my chosen niche wasn't specific enough. I've had a follow-up idea from the experience I had, but I have zero intention of actually executing it. I started an independent engineering consultant firm that was made up of only me. Turns out I spent so much time trying to get old customers to pay me that I didn't spend enough time looking for new customers. Side note, I will never ever sign a contract with an art collective ever again. They agreed to pay me a flat rate, $5,000, to automate a project they were building that involved some motors spinning some discs or something. The job took me maybe 4 hours not counting the travel, but hey, they agreed to a flat rate. They never sold the piece and never paid me, even though my contract had no language tying my compensation to project success. Anyway, they dissolved the collective and reopened it under a new name, and I never got my money. Repeat that story about 4 more times and I went back to working for someone else. I never started a business, but I work in accounting and have seen a lot of businesses succeed fail. I think the most simple thing that goes wrong is just people often don't really do market research and start a business that they are passionate about, but it's for a product or service that the people in that area don't want or need. Also, I think some people have good idea but don't have any or enough experience in owning or running a business and underestimate the work it takes. Didn't have enough starting capital. So we shifted our business plan to bring in some small capital to save up for our major plans. During that process, I realized my business partners were not what I was looking for. They just didn't have the right mentality for what we were doing. The drive was there, but drive isn't all we needed. So I bailed out of it before I lost any more of my money. Not my company, but I was briefly an employee. 2 guys put up a little bit of money. Investors put up over $1 million to put up IT company. Hires me to design and implement network infrastructure. Hires a web designer. Hires a lady to design and implement a call center. Signing on they said, exact quote, "You will manage our data center." Guess what? They had 1 rack in a data center, not a data center. So I set up a basic network infrastructure and set up monitoring for it. It wasn't huge, we had about 10 or less customers. Owners asked me to document everything I did, after which they fired me. They did the same thing to the call center lady. She got it all designed for them and they fired her. They kept the web guy on for a while, but he could see the really obvious writing on the wall and left for greener pastures. Owners did something with the investors' money, and then the whole shop folds. I was too naive. As an engineer, I just wanted to build a product for the customer and then hope that it would sell itself and I would be on my merry way. So I built dispatching software for a local truck company. After I finish building it out, I do some research and there are at least 10 other competitors with better features and have been around longer. Then I try cold calling other truck companies in the hopes of selling my software to them. Lo and behold, they were already using a competitor's software to power their operations. I also had to price myself lower in order to try to be a compelling offering. So now, here I am with 1 customer getting paid $150 a month. In essence, I fricked up in not doing enough research. not coming up with a more unique product, trying to be 5% better than competitors, not being able to get help on the sales end, and much more. The only thing I did well was to build good software. Now, I wake up every day depressed, not knowing what the right next step is, running out of money and time. The hardest part is the loneliness of it all. I miss having a team. Stop confusing effort with results. Shut that crap down. Years ago I tried freelancing hooking up electronics. I made a decent amount of mistakes but nothing totally crazy. I also most definitely didn't know as much as I should have before starting something like that. But my biggest mistake was not getting bonded in any way. I had a really close call where a customer threatened to send me to court for breaking some electronics I didn't even touch. I doubt he would have won, but who knows. What I do know is I would have been able to afford to find out. I shut it all down after that. In the startup community and have watched many a startup fly and fail. Mine is still breathing. Here's what I've learned. 1. Pick your co-founders like you pick a marriage partner, with the expectation that they may very well screw you over anyway. 2. Don't invent a product for a problem that doesn't exist. If you do, you will have to spend a lot of time inventing the problem as well. 3. Take your experience and apply it to what you want to do. Don't jump into app building BC, all the cool kids are doing it. 4. Don't get in it for the money. You will likely be working for at least 2 years without adequate, or any, pay. 5. Don't try to be a BFF to your employee's boss. It seldom ends well. 6. Specificity and focus are your friends. You can't be or do everything for everyone. 7. Your first customers are your employees. If they don't see value in you or what you're selling, you're in trouble. 8. Working for smart, kind people is totally okay. There are hundreds of ways to do cool things without entering the startup world. 9. Take care of yourself first. Throwing everything you have into a biz is no good if you destroy your health in the process. Lots of things. I sold clothing wholesale, had sales experience, but came from a different industry. It took a little bit to learn the law of the land and how things worked. Made home base where I did, and also currently live instead of moving to a more regional hub. This caused extra travel time and expenses when I could have been closer to my accounts. There's a reason why reps work out of those hubs. I was not prepared for the amount of stores who wouldn't pay. If an account gives you trouble about placing a deposit or prepaying, then you're probably not getting paid. Some of the lines we represented were off trend. We were newbies in the market, so we kind of went with what we could get. But there are reasons that longer established and larger firms were repping certain lines and not repping other lines. I didn't watch my business partner close enough and took him at his word. He was a lying piece of crap who was out for himself, and he no problems screwing me over and running off with some of the money we did have. I learned a lot though, and while I don't own a business currently, I certainly will be more prepared for when I try again. When it came to marketing channels, I didn't follow what the numbers said was working. I had my heart set on building a blog to promote my products, but all my sales success came from influencer marketing. If I had to do it over, I would have dropped the blog and put everything I could into the marketing channels that worked. I got the wrong investor, my dad. My dad was the kind of parent who couldn't trust me, and unfortunately still thinks he's a fellow kid who totally understands today's tech scene when he's, well, let's just say his idea of a great app is to load everything with ads, create 50 unnecessary additional steps to force everyone to see what our app can do, and oh, the 8 is silver, blue and yellow gradient effect everywhere. Sounds like you confused investor with partner. I've launched multiple pen names for smut, and a fair few of them have just died in the water. At least, I hope that's water. The biggest failing was assuming that I could try and use one name for all the fetishes I wrote about, assuming that people who bought in one niche were buying others. Not so. People like what they like, and they like to know they can buy more of it consistently. Pick a lane and stick with it. It's a lot easier to build a reputation for quality in one niche than all niches simultaneously. I trusted my banker without getting anything in writing. I had been thinking for a while about leaving the law firm I was with to start my own practice. I spoke with my banker who said it would be no problem for me to get a loan or line of credit if I needed it. I had some savings, but I relied pretty heavily on her representations. We had a great history and she had never let me down before. Big mistake. So I started my own practice. Did okay for a few months, then hit some slow months. I went to talk to her and she said there was no way she could do anything to help me until I had shown 2 years of profit. I got angry and asked her what about our previous conversation when she said that she had multiple ways she could help me. She claimed she never said anything of the sort. I remember standing up and leaning over her desk and saying, "You told me you could get me a $15,000 line of credit within 24 hours based on my customer history with the bank. And now you're telling me I dreamed this conversation." She basically said she would never had made such a specific promise, and I clearly was trying to bully her. I left her office and immediately went to another branch to close all my accounts. Every time I think of that conversation, I get furious. I had sent her God knows how many customers over the years, had a long history of banking at her branch, have been to lunch with her numerous times, yet she called me a liar when I had to ask her for help for the first time in the history of our relationship. In hindsight, I was stupid and a little arrogant. I knew it would take a couple of years to truly establish my practice, but I thought I had enough in savings and current clients that I could make it. When she told me about the financial options I would qualify for, I knew I had enough of a safety net. I made it 14 months before I had to close up shop and find a job. Happy ending though. Love my current job. Still, it's a little frustrating to be on the verge of making it on your own and have the rug pulled out from under you by someone you considered a reliable ally. Convinced myself that quitting my job and becoming a one-man band IT technician was a great idea. Except I live in the middle nowhere and there was already excessive competition. In reality, it was an excuse. I needed to quit working at my current job and grieve the death of my father. But at the time I couldn't accept that I was not mentally well and couldn't work. I had pressure to keep working from my employer as well, so lied to them and myself. I spent a month running my business before deciding I'd develop a coke habit. Was about 1 month away from being homeless before sorting my crap. So my business was actually just an excuse to go away and grieve. This was 3 years ago, doing amazing now. No drug habit and just got hired as a DevOps engineer equals. Glad to see a happy ending. Lack of self-confidence. This was about 23 years ago, when the web was really taking off. I knew it was going to be huge, and I knew that businesses really needed to be online. But my lack of self-confidence kept me from convincing others. It really held me back, and after a year and a half I had to find a full-time job. But I don't regret the time I spent trying. In 2001, the web development firm I was working for, and we had done some really high-profile projects, burst in the dot-com bubble, and the resulting recession kept me from finding another full-time position. But everything I had learned from them, plus what not to do the first time, meant that I was able to freelance for the next 8 years. So I always tell people to go for it. It may or may not work out, but you learn so much and it takes you where you need to be. It sucked, but I wouldn't have traded that experience for anything. Absolutely nothing. We accomplished all the goals we had, but in the end it didn't matter, and our business model was essentially regulated out of existence because competitors of ours were being unscrupulous. We actually successfully worked with our state legislator to kill a bill that would have made our business illegal, but in the end it was slapped with a regulation that made it completely unfeasible to continue operating. For context, we were an online healthcare company that employed doctors and had appointments over Skype. We were strictly non-narcotic, but some of our competitors were writing vi-coding scripts online without having ever met the patient. So after we killed the bill and met with our state representatives, had them into our office, etc., the Board of Community Health, like the Bar Association for Lawyers, issued an opinion that any doctor engaging in any online healthcare that was not in conjunction with a hospital could lose their license. Everyone quit overnight right as we hit our projections to hit 1M in profits during the second year of business. This was especially crushing to me because my contract and equity wasn't vested until the second year had completed and we hit several targets. All told, I lost quite a bit of money because that opinion letter was written in May instead of 6 months later, and I ended up walking away with basically nothing. On the plus side, the experience landed me a pretty good job and I have a solid career now. Did a lot of things wrong, but learned a heck of a lot. Don't think a startup is in my future ever again though. This was a mobile gaming tech startup, developing a way to monetize mobile games that wasn't freemium or ads. Things done wrong. Had an equal footing co-founder, which sounds great, but the result was we'd agree and compromise. There was never a hard vision or a final say. I think we would have done better if either one of us had led alone. Spent too much time building the product because it's the part we knew, and not enough time putting in people's hands and making sure it's what people needed. Relied on a two-sided marketplace without a foothold in either. Had no idea how to market or engage with users and or customers. Assume that liking something in theory would translate to liking it in reality. Operate in a moral gray area. The hardest part was losing that mythology about myself. That mythology that if I try my hardest, concentrate, and truly work at something, I'll be able to accomplish anything I set my mind to. Turns out this is not true. I tried my hardest, didn't sabotage myself, and we still crashed and burned. Wildly overestimated the drive of your average musician. The very first band who came to my studio to record broke up within the 45 minutes they were present. We actually have a family business that has its 30th anniversary this year. The biggest thing we've seen other people screw up on? Expect to lose money for at least 5 years. Even a seemingly successful business isn't going to turn a profit immediately. It takes time to become a fixture that enough people know and trust to build up a good client base. So, have your business, but don't quit your normal job right away. I'm currently experiencing this, but I'm only on my 2nd year. Business has picked up, and I am hoping it continues on an upward trend. Luckily, my startup is low cost with minimal overhead, and I am able to keep it afloat until I can build up a client base. Paid my secretary $100K a year with full medical, and spent a lot of money hiring NBA players to stand around the office and look cool. Had some dope butt parties, though. Bad choice in business partners. They liked the idea of saying they were an entrepreneur more than actually putting in the work. We call those people entrepreneurs. Currently running a VR startup on the side, so I haven't failed per se, but I've learned a few things. Actually have a product. I can't tell you how many people in the Bay Area think you can just get by on vaporware to get funding. The first thing a potential investor will do if they don't see a product, and only bulls marketing videos and PowerPoints, walk out the fricking door. As others have already pointed out, keep a fine line between you and your partners. It's okay if they're friends, but always make sure you're in it to start and run a successful business. I've had more than a few buddies burn out on the startup, and have never heard from them again. Take from it what you will. Not me, but a family member is a case study in failure to run a good business. He's invested his entire life, time, money, into an industry which keeps changing, with little to no ROI. The business originally started during the .com boom with websites, but failed to sign up any notable clients. He also did not buy domains and squat on them like many did during that boom. Moved on to AdWords, SEO, selling tech support. All the work was done by an outsourced call center, who was managed by someone that ended up stealing from the business. Instead of learning from those mistakes and throwing in the towel, he moved on to app dev and reselling software. Now he's into blockchain and trying to monetize that. I've told him time and time again, get a 9-5, make 2x what you'll ever make running your own business, and enjoy your life. He's 38 now. Instead, he's always chasing the next client, chasing the next payday, and not ever having enough liquid to do anything worthwhile. He's invested his entire life, time, money, something I would never recommend. I see so many guys dump tons of cash and effort into something only to realize they can't handle it. Tried to launch a technology news gaming news site. Didn't make use of pop-ups to get users to register for newsletter to retain visitors. Chose a domain that was hard to remember. Didn't make use of SEO social media marketing. Failed to realize that roughly 90% of users are running ad blockers, and took no action to block ad blockers. I had the idea that I could create a niche site that covers technology in more detail than most sites, keeps the ads modest and unobstructive, no annoying pop-ups, etc. Found that people won't disable ad blockers even for sites without annoying ads. Too often a cool site will say, hey, please disable ad block so we don't go broke, and when you do they fill the page with auto start videos with audio and misleading close buttons. Nope, can't trust the internet. When I ran a shuttle service for a nightclub, it was going good for about 3-4 weeks. Customers loved the price point, I was making bank, my drivers were making bank. Only problem is none of us had commercial licenses, nor insurance, plus no business license, etc. I was renting the vans in cash from a rental company. Cops found out, we got shut down. I was going restart after becoming legit, but then discovered the reason I was the cheapest game in town that was rolling in money is because everyone else was following the rules. My business model failed once you tried to do it legally, so off I went. I still pocketed like $6k out of the deal, so that's cool. The darn following the rules will get you every time. Not me, but my teacher set up a surf shop and accidentally started selling sharp knives for cutting knots or whatever to local gangs, which drove crime rates in the area up, and their profits couldn't handle it after the police intervened and forbade them from selling the knives anymore. I mushroomed. I started an online business in my bedroom which grew to be the largest of its kind in the country. Went from one laptop in my bedroom to over 1 million sales in 3 years and shipped globally. 6 years later I was answering emails one after the other for at least 10-12 hours a day. Had 9 full-time employees. At the ripe old age of 21, I got ambitious and expanded. Took over warehousing. Launched 3 sister brands under the same umbrella, and by 25 I was burnt out, mentally and physically, and had lost that spark. You can always keep pushing, but when that spark fades it is the hardest thing in the world to reignite. 5 years later and I'm trying to rekindle it for round 2, but next time I know how to do it. I ended up over my head on the tech side of an online marketplace. I really thought I could learn it myself. It ended up being so mentally intensive that a lot of other areas of my business suffered. In hindsight, I should have built the back end before pushing forward. I existed in brick and mortar and had novel idea for an online marketplace. The bright side is that I never went into debt, and I now better know my own limitations. Failure is as valuable as it is painful. The industry went digital. Demand for the physical product pretty much instantly went away. Now people can actually pirate a product online. It was a bit sad but also hilarious reading all the pirate threads on different web forums. Oh well. Tried to start lemonade stand with brother at age 9. Started arguing about the recipe. He hit me in the face with a lemon. Then I kicked him. Mom decided to halt our business venture. LOL. Literally, reminds me of a roadside watermelon business I experienced as a childhood. We threw more watermelons than we sold. Can't hardly type this without laughing thinking of it. Thanks for the laughs. You know what they say about falling off the horse though. LOL. I've owned or been a partner in 3 different businesses. 2 were very successful, 1 not so much. The one that failed was a commercial office furniture dealership. I work in that field. The simplistic reason why it's failed: we started the company, it was in 2008, right as the economy in my area fell apart. I was also surprised by my wife at the time with a request for a divorce. So, 1 new business, 2 bad economy, 3 divorce. I'm certain I could have handled a combination of any 2 of those, but not all 3. That was the extent of my limitations. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.